Hello and welcome to the new Power BI dashboard tutorial, and in this dashboard tutorial I am showing you the hospital admission dashboard. In this hospital admission dashboard we are looking at the various KPIs that is related to the admission, like the total consultations, like people usually come for the consultation. After consultation, how many admissions are getting done, how from these admissions how many emergency admissions are being done, the planned admission 2 million, wait list is very long 6 million, average of mean age people who are getting admitted 48 years is the average age, on an average they stay 15 days, and average wait time for them is 52 minutes for the consultation. So all of this is very helpful KPI for an administrator who wants to run a hospital, right? And once we have these KPIs, we are then looking at admission by gender, where when we click on the male, we see the admission by in the various department like general medicine, general surgery, pediatrics. The female, if we see, the different departments in which the female admissions are being done, and the gender unknown for those people who have not disclosed their gender. Okay, so this is the values we have in the data set. And then we have the average of mean length of stay, that means on an average in which department people are staying a lot, right? For example, if I just expand this chart, you see that in foreign psychotherapy you have the highest one, which is 373 days, followed by old age psychiatry, yeah, that's the right way to say it, 82 days, right? So that information basically tells a lot in which departments people are staying a lot. Same way, average mean time waited, where people are waiting a lot, like general medicine and so on and so forth. And you can see the average line over here, which is also showing you the 15 days, which is present over here. Similarly, average line over here, 52 days, which is also shown over here, right? So, and then we have the emergency admission and wait list. So the boxes you see by emergency admission and wait list is what the color coding is. So clearly general surgery, less emergency admission but a lot of waiting list. Similarly, a lot of waiting list over here, a lot of waiting list over here. So you can very clearly see from this entire data set where the wait list is more, because you would not want that in emergency admission you have a lot of wait list, right? Similarly, emergency wait list and the admission method, like emergency waiting list and the other admission method, is to further look at in these departments 85% is the emergency and the 14% is basically the waiting list over here. So if you see, if you go down, you see the lot of values or these bars, which basically tells you the story of this department, right? For example, if I pick and choose a department, let's say this one, midwife episode, and over here you have a 3% emergency admission, but then you have the other admission method a lot, 96%. Similarly, over here if you see rehabilitation, emergency is 42%, other admission is basically waiting list is 21%, and the rehabilitation is basically having 35% of other admission method. So all of this basically tells the story of individual department, and you can see how easily you can read one by one, and one can spend a good amount of time to really look at what's going on in their department, and then based on the need we can modify this chart. So an amazing dashboard, as you can see, a lot of insights into it, right? And a next level dashboard that you can produce for your audience, right? And in the end, I will show you one more version of this dashboard, an advanced dashboard that I teach in my training. So stay tuned for that, right? Now you will ask, okay, where is the data so that I can follow it along with you? All right, let me give you the data. So based on the link that I have provided in the description, you will land over here in my Google Drive. In the Google Drive, what you will going to find is this data set sheet. In this data set sheet, the first one is the hospital dashboard. So this is what I use in my training as well. So I'm giving you the same data set to be utilized over here. Also, if you want to access all of my 300 plus Power BI videos in an easy to search manner, then let me show you how you can do that. Alright, so here is the link of this sheet. This link, Power BI video tutorial, is also what I have something given it in the description. You can basically see all of these 300 plus videos that I am posted so far, and I'm continuously posting. So over here you can very easily search any of the previous video link is given in column B, and you can jump onto that video very easily. Okay, so let's go back to the to this particular scenario, and let's see the what do we have in the data and how the data is coming. So this is the sheet. Once you will download it, this is the sheet that you will going to get, where you have the information of main specialty, then admission, the emergency admission, the admission by female, total consultation episodes, the gender unknown, male admission, unknown gender admission, mean age, mean length, mean time waited, right? And other admission method, the planned admission, and the waiting list you have so far, right? So that is the data set that you have, and you can see it's sort of in a pivotal structure. So we can see that or we will actually look into it as to how we can model this data, so that from pivot structure it is helpful for a reporting structure, which is a long format. Okay, so we have this. Now let me go back to Power BI and create a new workbook. Alright, so here I am in Power BI, and let me create the blank one so that we can start completely from the scratch. And then we will build the dashboard step by step, and during this we will look at the lot of tips and tricks that you will find it useful for your scenarios or the work that you want to do. Alright, so what I'll do is I will just move this away so that I can work it on the blank screen. Alright, so we have the data over here. Now in this data, if you will see, we will going to get it's not the Excel actually, it's the CSV data. So in the get data, you have the text CSV, and I think the data start with the main specialty. Yes, this is the one, right? Click open, and then we will see the same columns that I have just shown you a few minutes back, right? So that is very easy to refer. Okay, you can see, right? Now what we're going to do is we will going to transform this data. Transformation will going to help us take the information at the next level. Okay, so we have this. So we will say unpivot column or unpivot other columns, right? So that means if I click on that, rest of the columns are unpivoted, right? So this is basically the variable or attribute, and this is the value, right? So that way I'll just double click. Yeah, value is this. So we should be then having values for each of this. Also, we don't need total, right? Total is something we want to produce it dynamically when we are in the front end. So I will just select over there and PQRST. I will uncheck that and click OK. That way total will be gone, right? And then we have, for each of the specialty, we have the categories that we can work it around in the front end. And then what I'll do is I will click on close and apply, right? So that basically bring the data to me, and then I can go ahead and work with this data set. So one of the ways is we can do like this, or another way is we can keep the same data set as it is, or the basically the conversion of the data in the long format. Okay, so you can see we have three values, right? And then what we can do is we can start producing the output that we need. All right, so what do we have is basically If I what do I need is the KPI, but before even the KPI, what do we want to set is the dashboard background color. So if you see, if you remember, I was using the color of blue, and then right now nothing is here. So what I can do is I can go under the canvas background, right? I can choose the color, which is what, blue, right? And what I have done is I have set the transparency to 60%. Okay, so this way I have the 60% transparent blue color, which is the one I can then go ahead and use it. Okay, and you can experiment with others, right? You have this color. If you feel like this one is better or this one itself is good, but not 60% but 50%, this is a personal choice that we want or that the user or you can keep as you are designing the dashboard. But I want to show you the properties or as to how I have done it. Then what I have done is at the top I have kept the KPI as the hospital admission dashboard. Hospital admission dashboard, right? And then what do you have is maybe 40. Yeah, should be good, right? One more thing which we want is the I'm just trying to bring this down, yeah, so that I can get an effect. One of the things that we want to do is basically the width and height of this page, which is also a custom that I am using because we have a lot of components. So in the canvas settings, you want to go to custom, right? The height that I'm using is 1000 and the width that I'm using is, let's 1600. Okay, so that way we have the lot of space that we can utilize for our dashboard creation. All right, so we have hospital admission dashboard, and I think what I'm using is the bold, right? And I think I have given a space so that there is a dramatic or impactful view. And then what I have done is, if you have seen it, I have given a background to this particular one as well, and set the settings around transparency to the lower level. So over here, if I go to effects and setting the transparency just to 30%, you will see that automatically it takes the color, right? Or you want a little bit more transparent, let's say 20%, or maybe, yeah, 20%, or you can experiment with 50%. Then this is the color you will going to get. So I think 30% is good enough, right? Just to get impact. Also, one other thing, if you want a rounded edges also, I think you can go over here in visual border, right? And the color that you can choose is probably this one, and the rounded edges maybe you can keep 10. Yeah, okay, so that way you have some rounded edges. I think I will just go ahead and do a little bit more, maybe 20. Yeah, so that is easy. So it's basically one of those few things that you may want to do as part of designing the dashboard. All right, okay, so I have this hospital admission dashboard. Also, the color that I have given it is the dark color, not this one, even the more darker than that, as I can see it on my second screen. Yep. All right, perfect. So once we have this, the next thing what we want to do is basically creating the KPIs. Okay, so creating the KPIs is what? Card, right? The card KPI. Okay, and over here, let's just keep it in alignment with this. Okay, we want to make sure that on this we have the main speciality as a filter. And when we choose the filter, the first KPI that we want to create is the total consultation episode, right? So finished, the name is the finished consultant episode. Let me just see or search episode API. Not this one. Attribute. Over here. Yep, there you go. So that way, when I bring the value, I get the right output. And then in the formatting, what I need is basically similar type of formatting like I have done it. So in the call out value, what do I have is this, and the color that I can give is this one, right? The bold, okay, and 20.91 is this, and not the sum of value but the total consultation. So sum of value is not what we want the, so we have two options. We can change it from here, or we can change or we can remove that and add a title, right? But I'll just keep it, and what I'll do is over here double click and I will say total consultation or consultation, yep, okay. And then I can go and in this label I can change the label to this one. Maybe I can make it a little bit bold, or maybe the darker one, total consultation, and less bold. Yeah, that should be good, right? Also in the call out value we have the display unit in millions, but decimal values I want to keep it less. Okay, so that way we have this. Then in the general we have the effects, and what I can do is I can keep the transparency to 20%. That way it will feel like the color is the same one that I've been using as a background, and also the rounded edges, right? If you remember, so in the effects, the visual border, we can keep the visual border as white, rounded edges as 20. That way I have my KPI in front of me, right? So I have total consultation. I will now then have to just copy and paste, and I'll just give some space. And then over here in the filter, after finished consultant episode, I have the total admission. So I will just uncheck that and do this. So you can see, because I have moved the I have created these ones. For me, KPI creation is easy. Otherwise I have to bring one by one each formula. I mean, both the scenarios, both the type of data, that means the pivotal data or unpivot data, have their advantage. So we have to see it, what is of our benefit, and sometimes we get to know once we are done with a lot of work. So that is where the experience comes in, right? Okay, so once we have done that, what we need is the emergency. So over here we have to call it total consultation, and here we have to call it total admission, right? Total consultation, but in this case we have to call it emergency or emergency admission, right? And once we have this, Control C, Control V, CV, CV, right? So emergency admission. After emergency admission, what do we have is basically the planned admission, right? And let's call it what? Planned. Okay. And then I will use two more KPIs, and then we can continue with our dashboard. See, so the next KPI that we want is the mean age, average age, right? So this is what 0 million, right? So over here, if you will see, you will say none. But 4037, that's not the average age, right? That's a total age. So you want the average. Okay, so mean age is this, right? And we will call it average age. Okay, and then emergency admission. This one we want average stay duration. So over here, I will just change this to mean length of stay, right? And we'll call it average. And from this, change this from millions to none, and average stay in days. I think that will be easy to interpret for the user, right? So you have your KPIs over here. Let me just pull it, and then what I can do is I can select all of these in the format align, distribute horizontally. That way they will be equally aligned. Okay, looks perfect. One more thing which I can do is to save some space, I can reduce their size. Yeah, that way I have more size, because we will going to create a lot of component, and you know that you will soon be out of space. Perfect. Yeah, so our KPIs are visible properly now. Now once we have this, what do we need is basically the admission by gender. So over here in the visualization, what I'll choose is the filter. In the filter, what do we have is the value, not the value, sorry, the attribute. In the attribute, we don't want all the attribute, but we just want male, we want female, and we want gender admission, right? Then what we can do is we can bring it over here, slicer settings. In the slicer settings, we need what? Buttons. So tile. Okay. Yeah. So we have this tile, gender unknown, and that is something we can select from the top. Once we have this, what do we need is basically a chart, the clustered bar chart over here, which is basically to show the admission bar in these specialties. So if I can bring, not this one, sorry, this one, I can bring this up, come on, yeah. And this is a lot of values, so till the end, this one, till I will just make it like that it is, this component is part of this visualization, right? And over here, what do we need is basically the main specialty, and we need the values, right? The values, what we need to enable the data values, right? And in the data value, the bars, the colors, we want to set the transparency to, let's say, 30%. Yeah, so that it is not very highly visible, and also I want to reduce the color tone. Yeah. Okay, so we have this. I just need a little bit more, less tone of the color. Yeah, this much is good, so that it is matching with the background that we are having. Okay, so we have this. Then what we need is basically a title over here, general title. admission by gender, right? And I can bring this down, and what we can do is we can see the width of this, or we can make sure that this is in alignment with this. Okay, so now it will feel like this is, but this title is coming, so what we can do is select this in general, remove the title. Yeah, now the next thing what we need to do is we can select this, right? But the problem is rest other is also getting impacted. We can select this gender unknown, we can select the male, but all of this is impacted. So we will going to solve this problem. If you already know, good, but I will show you how you can solve this problem. Also, this border, I don't like it too much. So what I can do is, because it is taking an unnecessary attention, right? So slicer settings, let me see where I can find the border. Yeah, in the border, what we can do is we can make it like this, or we can give it like high, little bit visible. Yeah, this much is fine. So you can see that this is a part of aesthetics, because we don't want a lot of attention over there, right? Similarly, the sum of values are not needed, because value anyway we are displaying it over here. So we'll click over here on the x-axis. We don't need the values on the x-axis. We don't need the title on the x-axis. Same way, we don't need the title on the y-axis, right? So this becomes our admission by gender. Now, once we have this chart, what we can do is we can bring this up a little bit. Yeah, and we can move this up as well, and our chart is perfect. Okay, so once we have the chart, the next chart what we want to create is the cluster column chart, which will basically going to help us in producing a view that will tell us the average length of stay. Yeah, okay, so what do we have is the specialty on the x-axis, and we want average length of stay, right? So we want attribute on this, and the attribute is average mean length of stay, and values what we need is on the y-axis, not the sum of value but the average, right? And then what we can do is we can come over here, data labels. Yes, so what we can do is we can copy this format, paste it over here. That way it's now I don't have to follow the every single setting that I have done, right? So now my chart is ready. The only thing is I need to create an average line. So for that I make sure select chart is selected, add further analysis, average line, add line, right? And the data label is on. The data label color, let's make sure it is black, and decimal values should be 0, 15, right? And once we have that, the line color is also something that we can change. We can make it a little bit darker black so that people can see this. Now I can copy this and paste. All right, I have this. Let me just reduce this a little bit, because anyway the scroll bar will continue to happen, and we want people to see only some of the top values and not all the values. Yeah, just creating some space for our chart. Now this one was the not the mean length of stay, but mean wait time, mean time waited, right? And that way our chart is ready, right? You can see how easy it is once we have figured it out what needs to be done. All right, once this is done, the next chart what we want to create, I'll just copy and paste this chart, and what I'll do is I will just expand this towards the right, and the chart we want to create is this one, and this one we want the main specialty, yes, and in this case, so this will be an interesting one, right? Why? Because what we need is the emergency admission. So that is what I will going to click and uncheck that, and that will be sum, right? So this will be emergency admission, and the color by the what do you call, the wait list. So over here we have the color, right? And we want the advanced control, not color like this. So what do we need to do is we need to create a measure. Welcome. Because without this, you will not be able to complete any single dashboard. You have to create measures. Okay, so in this case, we need a wait list, and our wait list is by the average of, and this will be calculate function average of value. All right, and then we will say, in this case, attribute will be the mean. I really don't remember that. Let me just see my Excel file. Mean time weighted, this one. Mean time weighted. I hope it should work. Let's just create one quick KPI and see this. KPI wait list 51. Yeah, that is right. So 52 minutes, what I know already from this. So that is the level of understanding you should have about your visual. So now I have this in the colors, FX, rules, I want gradient. And I want by wait list, lowest value, highest value. Yeah. Okay. And now you can see this is changed, right? So that is how we can basically create our values that is helpful for us to produce the output. So I'll just make sure this is the one, and it has emergency and nothing else. Yes, these are emergency admission. And then where is the wait list, you can clearly see with the help of the color coding. Okay, so we have this chart. Let's just give it a name. The name will be what? In the general, the title will be the emergency admission and wait list, right? Let's just increase maybe to 16. Let's give it a little light color. Yeah, same thing we have to do it over here, but we will do it 16 light color. I think this is the light color that we are giving, just to make sure that yes, this is something we will follow. Now the last chart that we will going to create is this one. Okay, Control C. Okay, and I have to expand this till here so that it is properly present. And then what I can do is I need a chart like this. Okay, so here also we will have to then create calculations like this wait list, because we need 3 calculations over here, and with one value it will not going to work, or with the filter it will not going to work. Okay, so we have the not this but the wait list, right? And the 2 other things what we need is the emergency. So emergency is emergency, and another is the other admission method and emergency. Okay, so let's go back. right? This was the one. So I'll just select this, Control A, Control C, copying, creating a new measure. And now what we need is the emergency. Come on, emergency. And in over here, the filter condition we will just change to what? Emergency. Okay. So if you bring it over here, what you're going to get is a chart like this. You can clearly see emergency wait list, right? So one thing I'm just thinking that probably we can do is I can bring, let's say, the value, and on the legend, let me bring the attribute. Let's just remove that. Yeah, I was hoping that it will do that. Okay, so I have attribute, and in the attribute I actually need emergency. I need the, what do you call, so I'm showing you the alternate method, as I just thought that this is also a possibility, right? This one. And what do we need? Yes, so I have emergency, I have waiting list. This one, there you go. See, I just found out right in front of you an easy way to create this chart rather than creating these formulas. Okay, perfect. So the only thing is I have to give it a color coding. So in this case, emergency will be a darker one, and transparency, let's keep it what, 50%, 50, or if I say 0, what will happen? Let's just see. Yeah, so we have this emergency, we have other admission method, we will call this one, and then we have the wait list. Let's just make it the lightest one. Okay, so clearly differentiation is there. And over here we have the sort the access by this one, sorting of the value, but we can sort by main specialty as well, and in the form of ascending, right? So whatever way we want, we can find it. So accident and emergency has the highest emergency cases. Acute internal medicine, right? So all of this you can see it very easily, like this chart. Gynecology, 22% emergency, 38% is other admission method, and wait list is 39%. So this basically gives a lot of value to your end user, because then they will be able to find out, okay, if they need to reduce the waiting list, then what do they need to do, right? If I just type that. Okay, so that way my dashboard is ready, and I hope your dashboard is also ready, and you can show it. The only last thing which I will do is I will give it a proper name to this. So in the visualization, average of value, main specialty, and I think this was what, mean length of stay. So in this case, average stay by specialty, right? That will be the title. So this is also very important. Average days stayed by in a specialty, in specialty, right? I think the spelling has BECIALITY, something is wrong. If I right click, I don't get any option. Okay, I'll just copy that, come over here, title, A, Control V. What is that? Average, this was what? Average wait time in specialty. Average. Wait time. I just cannot emphasize that how important it is to give the right title. I mean, when I work, I basically see the number of times we have to make sure that title is absolutely, and it should be very helpful for an end user to make sure that they are not getting confused by this. So just cannot emphasize how important it is, right? Admission by gender. Perfect. So that way you can do as many settings as you want, as I showed you, but this is how we can go ahead and create our chart, which is for our end user. There is a lot that we can do, and I'm showing you now the alternative, the advanced version of this, as to how you can as to what's the next level which I teach in my training. All right, so here is the same hospital dashboard that I am showing, or I am basically giving a training in my sessions. So similar KPI if you see, but in this case 17 million the emergency cases, 38% as to how we can produce the second level, and so on and so forth. Down below we are showing way much better in a proper presentation format as to male, female and gender unknown, not just simply based on a slicer, but all the information. That way comparison becomes easy in that case. Then we have the consultation versus the age for male, female and gender unknown. Then we have a Pareto chart which basically shows from here till this bar we have 80% of the cases. As you can see, rest of the bar is light green. So we have created this custom calculation of this shade. We have created a custom calculation for 80% of the values to show those specialties, the top specialties where 80% of the admissions are happening. Then we have charts like this which basically shows the mean length of stay, that means the average stay and average time to wait, and the same chart which I showed you right in this tutorial as to types of admission: emergency, wait list, plan and so on and so forth by the specialty. So that is my advanced basically case where I show the advanced level of charts, right? And that basically helps you to take your skills to a next level. Okay, so with that, I hope you enjoyed the session, right? And got to know a lot about the Power BI dashboard creation and the various things or the various features that you can use to your advantage to create a dashboard. So with that, thank you so much, and I'll meet you in the new video with a new tutorial.